Ashe County Oral History Project. An interview with Hazel Brown, December the 5th, 1980. Interviewer, Clarice Weaver.
Hazel, now, where were you born? Were you born up in the Creston?
I was born in Northport Township in a little creek they call Rock Creek.
Rock Creek.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
A little creek they call.
Do you want to tell when?
Well, any difference? I'm not planning to get married again anyway. I was born in 1900.
1900.
July the 12th, 1900. Mm-hmm.
What was your mother and daddy's name?
You mean my mother's maiden name?
Yeah, and who she know?
She was Wallace, Elizabeth Wallace.
Mm-hmm. And your daddy?
Benjamin Price.
Benjamin Price.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just remember the year they got married.
When was? Mm-hmm. You remember when it was?
No, I don't right now. I have it down somewhere.
Mm-hmm. You know, his daddy and mother, Benjamin's daddy and mother, what were their names?
Well, when I was born, his mother was living, and her name was Diademy Price.
What?
Diademy.
How do you know how to spell it?
D-I-A-D-I-M-A.
D-I-A-D-I. D-I-M-A.
I guess.
Well, that's an unusual name, isn't it?
It sure is. And I never did know my grandfather Price. He was dead and gone when I was born.
What was his name?
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Well,
there was never much said about him, and I just don't remember.
What did your daddy do for a living? Was he a farmer or?
Well, he was a farmer, and he ran a post office and a general store. And he ran a thrashing machine and a grist mill, shingle saw.
Shingle saw. What was that? Was that a saw?
It was a saw that sawed shingles to cover houses. Those neat little shingles.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. I have heard you say he ran a general store, and that means he carried boots and shoes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Groceries
and dry goods.
In those days, did you ever hear of anyone breaking in a pair of shoes for another person?
Mm-hmm.
Was that common practice?
Well, not too common, I don't think, but my husband bought a pair of shoes that hurt his feet, and a fella told him he'd break them for him, and so he did. I reckon he never brought them back. Maybe I shouldn't have told that.
That's fine.
He
broke them in well, didn't he?
He broke them till they wore out.
A lot of occasionally I hear that was the case. If a person got a pair of shoes and they just wasn't too comfortable, another person would be happy to break them in for them.
That's right.
But, and then in his
another
case,
person with larger feet would try to break them.
Well, I broke my foot right then and couldn't walk.
I see.
He broke his foot, and he said he'd break them for him, so he never did bring them back. I guess he needed them.
I guess they just felt so good, he decided to keep them.
Maybe I don't know why, he just never did bring them back.
Now, I believe your father died rather young, didn't he?
He died at the age of 42.
42.
In 1912.
What killed him?
Pneumonia and side pleurisy killed him.
How old were you then? About
12 years old. Mm-hmm.
Well, was it rather difficult for your mother to have to go on? Did she keep the store?
No, she sold out the store, and then she sold the thrashing machine. And well, he only had a half interest in the thrashing machine, but I believe the steam engine belonged to him, and the thrash box belonged to another fella.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't take care of the store and the post office. The post office was discontinued, and
What was the name of that post office?
Ben Boland,
Ben Boland Post Office?
Ben Boland NC.
I
It was
never
part
heard
of my father's name.
Ben, oh yes,
Mhm.
uh-huh.
See, he
And-
went by the name of Ben.
And Boland was who?
Ben Boland NC was.
And
the
how,
post-
where'd they get the Boland, do you know?
No, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
They added that, I suppose, to his name.
Mm-hmm. Ben Boland. Well, I'll declare.
He was a mighty shifty man. He had too many jobs, but my mother was well educated and she helped him. She ran the post office and the store while he was out thrashing
Mm-hmm.
and doing other things. Of course, he had cattle too.
Well, he was a busy man, wasn't
He was too busy.
he? Yeah. Was it pretty hard on? Now, apparently, he left her financially secure then with.
That's right, he did. He left her with plenty, and plenty to raise us children. And we helped ourselves. We all worked. We worked hard. And
Did she try to farm a little, or just the gardens and that sort of thing?
she rented.
Rented people.
She rented corn ground and
Then she got part of the.
got hay of
Uh-huh.
everything she rented. Then we had plenty of meadows. At that time, we owned 3 little farms. One on about middle ways of the creek, and one on the head, and one on the lower end. We had 3 little farms, and we had sheep and geese and cattle and team of horses, and we kept some one place and some at another.
Uh-huh. Did you have brothers?
I had 2 little brothers.
Uh-huh.
They're
Well, they were
younger. They're too young.
too young to have.
Yeah, too young.
So
to
you
have.
grew up with your mother running the whole business. Was it kind of hard on you?
Well, it was pretty hard, but I didn't mind. I was young and strong, and so I had an older sister, Aunt Myrtle,
Murder.
and she passed away in about 3 years after my father did,
Oh, really?
and I was the next oldest living. So I went ahead with the hardest work all the time.
You kind of was her right arm, weren't
That's
you?
right, and
What killed a myrtle?
uh,
Do you remember?
rheumatic fever.
Oh, really? Well, your mother
Mhm.
lost 2 then that close, didn't
Yes, that's mighty bad.
she? Yeah.
At that time, they didn't have remedies for pneumonia and rheumatic fever like they do now. They probably could have saved both of them.
Mm-hmm. Didn't have any of these antibiotics they have today,
No,
did they?
that's right.
Well, now, anything in your...
She was 17 years old
When she died?
when she died.
Had she been sickly a long time before that?
Well, she hadn't been too well, but that just struck her all at once, the rheumatic fever. And she got paralyzed, in bad shape all over.
You, growing up as a little girl and growing into your teenage years, anything stand out as anything special, or is something strikes you as being unusual happening that you'd enjoy telling?
Well,
What were some of the exciting things that happened?
my mother was a real good hand to sew, and she made all of our clothes, and there's 4 of us girls, and she made us little bonnets.
Fun.
And we played along the road a lot. There'd be swarms of butterflies, different colors, and one color would settle in a place to itself.
Oh,
It'd
really?
be yellow and white and blue. I can just see those butterflies in little swarms. And we'd catch butterflies between the house and the store. My father didn't ever let us stay around the store much because too many loafers would be around there, and he didn't want to hear
Some of the
us
stuff
to
they
hear
were
the
telling.
language.
Right.
And we'd play along the store and catch these butterflies at times, and we'd build playhouses and take care of the 2 little boys. When they were babies, we'd take them out to play. One would hold the baby while the others played.
Well, that was
My mother was in the store most of the time, and we'd take care of the little ones. We had
You had it organized, didn't you?
That's right. One that holds a little baby. Now, we've taken one that's real small.
Little babies.
One day we taken my youngest brother to the woods to play, and one sat and held him while the others played and bend bushes. We'd bend bushes and just play and have a good time. But we never did hurt one of those little ones. We always taken good care of them.
Yeah, that's fun too, wasn't it? As long as you
She
didn't cry.
trusted us to take care of them, and we did. One day we had a little young baby up the road, and a man came along and he said, "Whose baby is that?" Well, we said, "Mama's." He said, "Take it back to the house."
He thought it was, you might let something
He was
happen.
afraid we would. Well, it was a tiny little thing.
Did you take it back?
I don't remember if we did or not. We did, but I guess not.
Well, you know,
Right
that
then.
was just every member in the family had to contribute to the family life, didn't they?
That's right, we did.
Something on got you out of the road.
I was going.
Well, go ahead and tell me that too.
I was going to tell this story about one time. We kids played along the store a lot. I mean the road between the store and house. And one time a man came running down there with his hat in his hand. And he said, "You get the children in the clear," said the mill dam bursted loose above here. And he said,
Mill dam?
He was afraid we'd be in the road. He knew we played along the road, and he's afraid we'd get drowned. And we would have. And a little bit, he beat the water down there. And a little bit, here come the water. And it filled the road and the creek and all around the barn and washed poles around. It was a lot of water.
Well, did it drown anyone?
No, we didn't happen to be in the road at that time. I guess we might have been playing their playhouse.
Well, you know, something like that. Of course, I guess they went on ahead and told everybody.
No, this there, because the creek ran by the side of the road, and he didn't have to go any farther down because there wasn't any more places that was dangerous except there.
Well, for goodness sake.
But he beat the water down there to get us to see that we wasn't in the road.
It saved your life, maybe.
Might.
You might have been out there.
It washed us away. There's a lot of water.
Now, when you got to your teenage years and you started courting a little, was most of your dating at, walking home from church and?
That's right. We didn't have any other way to travel except horseback.
Did you ride a horse?
Oh,
Did you
yes.
have
We had horses. We rode everywhere we went, almost.
Well, did you? I bet that was fun riding horses.
It was fun.
Did you
we
ever
had
do a
to.
little racing?
Sometimes we would. One time we went to Ashland. We had never been. My cousin stayed with us about a year after my father passed away, and she was riding one horse, and my sister and me were riding another one. So we had never been to Ashland around the river, and that time we was going back around the river, and she got on her horse and left us. We didn't know which way she had gone. And we knew she went down the road, but we didn't know to turn when we got down to the river. So we went on down the river till we got to Creston. We was young girls. We had never been nowhere much. We got to Creston, and we inquired the way to our home, and they told us how to go. And so it was coming up a big thunderstorm, and we didn't know when we got to where we turned off at the river. It came up a big thunderstorm, and we run in a house there and stayed till it was over. And this, my cousin had gone on home and left us. She got out of sight and just kept going. My mother got uneasy, and she came down to the lower end of the creek and sent a young man after us. We met him. He was laughing because we got lost.
So you had to ask how to get home?
Yes, we didn't know how to go around the road to the creek where we lived. We went across the hill, and we didn't know how to go on around it. But this, my cousin left us. I don't know why she did.
How old were you then, do you think?
Oh, we was about. See, I was about 13, I guess, and my sister's about 14. We were both riding one horse.
I see.
Uh-huh.
Well, why did they call it Rock Creek, do you know?
Well, no, I don't exactly. I guess it's because it was pretty rocky road.
Rocky Creek, the rocks around the creek.
Pretty rocky road before they ever built a good road up there. Well, I remember the first car I ever saw.
Is that right?
We were all at the Methodist church one Sunday, and we heard a roar. We didn't know what it was, and people started running out of the house and left the preacher standing in the pulpit.
Oh, really? You mean you left the church?
Oh, yes. I all ran out to see what it was, and it was a car.
Oh, really?
And that was the first car that many people had ever seen. So we got out. Well, he was telling a story when this car came up. And it's a little story about Johnny Peck. I never did forget the story. And that is about 1914, don't you guess? And so the preacher crawled out the window. The door was crowded, and he ran out to see the car, too.
He left out the window, come out the window?
Yes. Several
Was
people.
the church full? Just full of people?
Almost, yes.
And they sort of got in the
door. It was crowded in the door, and there was a window raised, and so part of the crowd went out the window, and the preacher went out. Everybody left him standing there in the pulpit, and he was telling this story about Johnny Peck.
Who was Johnny Peck?
He was a little boy that his father was giving him information on what to say. And when the preacher came, they was looking for the preacher to come to their house. And so he said, now, tell the preacher that you're 7 years old, and your name is Johnny Peck. And said, and bad boys goes to hell. And he said, now, don't talk too much. And when the preacher came, he said, my name's Johnny Peck, 7 years old. And said it all at once, what his father told him, you know. He said the whole thing. Said bad boys goes to hell and don't talk too much. Told the preacher that.
So that was the story he was telling.
That was the story he was telling when the car came up. And
Wonder who, I bet he felt mighty proud of himself driving that car and everybody coming out to see it.
well, I guess he did. I did remember his name, but right now I can't recall it.
Yeah, from 40 or 50 miles away.
But he was from Lenore, I think, the car was. But it was roaring and making a terrible noise, you know. People had never heard one before.
Oh, yeah.
It was exciting.
Long time till you'd see another one, too.
That's right. We didn't hardly ever see one. It was a long time. I think I rode in the second one that I ever saw. And it must have been a Hudson or something. It was a great big maroon-colored car.
Wouldn't mind owning one of those now, would you?
No. But it was exciting to see a car then. So when we went to church, there'd be a whole road full walking. At night we'd have lanterns.
Is that right?
And to see by.
You had to keep up with that lantern, or you'd step in maybe some mud or
That's
some water.
right. Well, you can't hardly imagine how many people would be walking. It'd just be a road full.
Is that right?
There's so many young girls and boys, and we'd have boyfriends and walking along. People would have lanterns till it'd light the others that didn't have.
Well, everybody went, I guess, in those days
Oh,
to
they
preaching.
did. Most everybody went to church, didn't they?
Yeah.
Now, what year did you marry Billy, your husband?
1917.
1917, and a
Mhm.
date.
7th day of October,
7th of October.
1917.
How long did you date him before you married him?
I have to think a little.
Was it a few years or a few months?
About 3 years, I guess, wasn't it? He took a trip west in time of it. And
had to wait till he come back.
that's right.
Well, that sort of slows things down a little, don't it?
I waited for him
You
till
did.
he came back, but I could have married some more, but I didn't. I didn't date anyone much while he was gone because I didn't care about him much.
And you'd already decided.
That's right. I had my mind made up of it.
Well, now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit. Of course, you lived in the Creston area, didn't you, for a while, or was it Rock Creek?
Rock Creek.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had your one son. What was his name?
Ralph.
Ralph. Is the only, you just had the one child, didn't you? And of course, you were a housewife, keeping up with the.
Yes, I worked on the farm after we married, we ran a farm and raised beans and tobacco and corn and potatoes and cattle, and we was busy people.
I bet.
Then we decided, High Sheriff came to our house one day and he wanted my husband to be the chief deputy sheriff and run the jail for him. So we moved to Jefferson.
When you moved up to West Jefferson to run the jail, now that was, of course, you had a garden here, didn't you? Did you have a garden?
Yes, we had a garden
Uh-huh.
at the jail because we had to furnish rations. And
Well-
we got paid to feed the prisoners, and we furnished all of the groceries.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
now,
we had a big garden that we fed a lot of them, fed to save the grocery bill, you know.
mhm. Well, now, when you first moved up to the jail, of course, everybody that moved in, I guess they had to do a little house cleaning. Was it in pretty bad need of repair, or did you
It
have?
sure was. It'd been condemned.
Oh, it had.
Yes, it had, and the jail inspector came not long after we were there, and he thought we had did a good job to get it all cleaned up and straightened up.
So they let them keep it then, I guess.
Mhm.
Well,
Yes, we tried to keep it best we could.
and it was
all
condemned
the
when you went
time.
there. Well, what
That's
did you
right.
have to do? Paint it or repair it, or was there a lot that had to be done?
It was cleaning.
Cleaning.
Mostly we just had to clean, and the sheetrock was falling in where it had got old and bursted in one room,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to redo that room. And then we had to do a lot of cleaning around, outside and in. And my husband and myself did it all the cleaning. He cleaned up the jail part, and I cleaned downstairs.
Was that where your living quarters?
Yes,
Were
I
your living
cleaned-
quarters
I-
downstairs?
Yes, in the jail upstairs. So
Well, you were his
Kept
right.
it.
You were always someone's right arm. You were his right arm too.
that's right.
Was she pretty good, Mr. Brown?
She is excellent. She is honest and straight and know just what to do when I was gone.
You didn't have to worry when you were
Put
gone.
the prisoners upstairs and bonded them out and done a wonderful job.
Is that
I was out a lot of the time, and she took care of it, day or night.
is it?
Either way.
Oh, when now?
And when you went to Maryland a trip or two, I taken care of it.
When he'd have to
I went 8 or 9 up
Uh-huh.
to Maryland.
He had to make trips
pick
go-
up prisoners out of
That's right.
state. Uh-huh.
Mhm, out of
So it left
state.
you there with the. Did you have anyone living with you at the house?
No, I had all the work to do.
Well, how about you?
My mother did stay with us a little
When he
bit,
was gone.
but she wasn't there when he was
Oh,
gone.
Had as high as 27 in jail one time on Saturday night.
27 in jail at one time?
I did all the cooking for him and ourselves too. And we fed the prisoners what we ate ourselves.
Oh, so they ate well, huh?
And yes, we fried eggs, had sausage, different
Killed a
things.
500-pound hog.
Ah,
We killed a hog that did weigh 500 pounds.
500, huh?
Uh-huh.
Did you, let me ask you something. When you kill that hog, I've wondered myself, you did your own butchering, I guess, or did you?
Yes, we had it done.
When you had a hog that big, did you put it in the barrel to scald, or did you put hemp sacks or something on it to? Could you get them in a barrel? 500-pound hog? Could you, Mr.
I
Brown?
don't know.
We couldn't put that bigger hog in. I had to put sacks for boiling hot water on
Put
one.
sacks
But
Oh,
on and then
see.
poured it on.
ordinary hog, you could put it at one end at a time and scald him. But that hog was too big. We got a fellow that he had done that kind of work, and they said he charged $5 for $4 for to do that job. And when he come back, he charged me higher than he wanted to go wine. He said, "You never have that bigger hog." They had to charge more.
So it gone up on his price.
Well, I
She
remember.
rendered out lard, tell us about that.
Yes, I rendered the lard out, and I just remember how much we had. But we had sausage ground, and I remember how much sausage they were a bushel of sausage, and I canned it all. And
A canned bushel of sausage
mhm,
out of that one hog.
yes, we had. I don't know what parts we had ground now to make it. Do you?
Well, pretty lean meat, most of it.
But it must have been shoulders we ground.
Yeah, shoulder.
I guess it was, and the scraps. And then I made a lot of apple butter and jelly and pickle beans and pickle different things. Canned pickle beets, and we had an awful nice garden, and we had so much in there to can. And I done a lot
Get
of
in of a Saturday night and they'd all get out, but we had 27 one time at one time. Come in one night.
When you had
Most all
20,
of them.
when you had 27, did you have to double up in the room,
I
or?
went to West Jefferson, got mattresses and brought them and put them on the floors and took care of them in that way.
Well, we had several beds, about double, you know. One up here, one down here. We had to make more room when they had more prisoners sometimes.
So when on the weekend, after everybody got their weekend drunk, so to speak, or whatever they were brought in disturbing the peace, I guess a lot of it wasn't it? Then, and they were bonded out, then it was kind of quiet, I guess,
Yes,
wasn't
it was pretty quiet, but
Did you ever have anyone that you were kind of worried about as to whether they might try a jailbreak or anything like that?
not much. One time, someone cut some hacksaw